Thank you, Bernie. I'm Stephen Quinn. This is On the Coast on CBC Radio 1. Well, coming up in this half hour of the program, Chilliwack is set to approve construction of a new hazardous waste recycling plant on the banks of the Fraser River. Some environmentalists, though, are raising concerns about the development. We're going to hear from Friends of the Chilliwack River Valley coming up in just a moment. Right now, Brian Dance is here with some CBC local news headlines.
Stephen, I hit us at the scene of an apparent homicide in North Surrey. Police found a body earlier today at 102nd Avenue and 124th Street. And one of the men accused in the Surrey 6 murders was sentenced this afternoon. Michael Lee was given a 12-year sentence after he pled guilty to one count of conspiracy to commit the murder of Corey Lau. Those stories and more coming up on our 4:30 News.
Thank you, Brian. And Lisa Christensen is back to tell us about the roads this afternoon.
And they are still not looking so bad. In fact, I got a call from Greg, and his regular commute is to go from Richmond to Vancouver, and he said it was such an easy drive. He made it very quickly, so he said it is actually a very light rush hour for everyone. Still busy Highway 1 eastbound. It's slow on the upper levels and then along the cut, and very busy through the Burnaby Lake area. The Massey Tunnel, you're still slow on the Richmond side from about Blundell. And in North Vancouver, we do have that construction work, Mount Seymour Parkway. It's been slow from the highway to Riverside Drive, and it's down to single-lane traffic there. And you'll also find in Vancouver that traffic is slow on 41st Avenue eastbound just before night. This is after an earlier accident. Traffic has been slow from Fraser Street. I'll be back in 10 minutes. You can always reach me at the CBC Traffic Desk star or pound 690 on your cell phone.
Thank you, Lisa. And joining us now with a look at the weather is CBC meteorologist Johanna Wagstaff. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
I've been trying to make sense out of tomorrow's forecast because
yes.
I attempted to read the Environment Canada version of it a little while ago.
Right.
And I kind of worked myself into a hole.
Did you?
Yeah.
Well, it's a bit...
Well, it was quite confusing. There's a lot going on.
There is a lot going on. Let me break it down.
Please.
Okay, so this system moved through a little bit of a weak cold front, moved through this morning. That brought us some light rain and gray clouds. That's now moved off, so we're behind the cold front, and winds are going to start to come in from the northwest overnight, but clearing things out. So clearing forecast overnight. You're going to wake up to some blue skies if you wake up after 8:04 when the sun comes up, and generally a clear Wednesday. But those northwesterly winds will be noticeable, breezy right across Metro Vancouver, and if you're by the water, we're talking 60 km/h wind gusts. So a very windy day. Again, behind this front, it's bringing in drier air, so mainly sunny Wednesday. We may see some moisture creep in, though, late afternoon, evening, and because temperatures will be dropping through the Wednesday night hours, we may see a few flurries or ice pellets Wednesday night. And then Thursday, clearing right back out, is blue skies, but temperatures struggling to get above sort of 1 or 2 degrees. And then warm front moves back in, rain and seasonal Friday onward.
See, you made it sound so easy.
Oh,
that was all logical.
I
it all
still have a
made
job
sense.
then.
I was into like shifting winds and windy by the water, not windy someplace. Anyway.
Yeah, no, I'm sure, I'm sure we got it.
And a sunset in 2 minutes.
I know.
4:15.
It's getting later every day for the next few days anyway.
Next few days anyway. Johanna, thank you.
Thank you.
Johanna Wagstaff, meteorologist with the CBC Vancouver Weather Centre, with us every day at this time, and you can see her on the CBC Local Television News. It comes your way beginning at 5 o'clock on Channel 3 in Vancouver. Coming up on 14 minutes. After 4 o'clock on the coast. Well, earlier this month, the city of Chilliwack rezoned a 1.78 hectare piece of land along the Fraser River. The move allows for the construction of a hazardous waste recycling plant. Now, in theory, it's a project that environmentalists would support. It would, after all, ensure the safe treatment of harmful PCBs and mercury. But the site itself, its location, has raised some serious concerns. Glen Thompson is the spokesperson for the Friends of the Chilliwack River Valley, and he joins us on the line now. Good afternoon to you, Glen.
Good afternoon.
I understand you were touring the proposed site this morning. Describe exactly where this is for us, if you can.
Okay, well, this site is in the city of Chilliwack. It's about 100 yards from the Fraser River, and it's in a heavy industrial zone that they're proposing to change its zoning to M6, which would be special industrial zones. That's restricted to things like toxic waste and really rare types of items.
Okay, so if this is already zoned for industrial use, what's the difficulty here specifically?
Well, the types of products you want to bring now are beyond what you'd normally find in heavy industry. There are things such as mercury, PCPs, one of the things in their application is a request to hold infectious substances, and the amount of infectious substances, for instance, is unlimited. So it's really something different than you typically find in heavy industry.
When you talk about infectious substances, give me an example of what you're talking about.
Well, to be perfectly honest, that's all it says. So, it's up to your imagination what they'll really put there. I'm thinking hospital waste. And this is one of the big problems we have with it is there's not enough information really out there for people to make an informed decision as to whether this is a good siting location.
Okay, so your main concerns with the proposal then are, I guess, in part the location. Obviously, what's being dumped there is a chief concern.
Definitely. I mean, everyone's in favor of recycling PCPs, for instance.
I should say processed there, by the way, and not dumped.
Right, no, sorry, this is not a dump. This is a processing plant, yes. Yeah. The issue is, if you look at the site, it's like a big bowl of water. It has a lot of water. It's downhill from a sandy material that rolls right into there. By design, it has a berm, and it's designed to drain, but it really should be designed to contain. It's not set up to contain materials. It's set up to wash away water, and that's our biggest concern from the get-go.
Where would that water wash away to?
Well, ironically, it'll wash away directly into the Burt Brink Wildlife Management Area, which was just recently created in 2009. And from there, it takes a very short, maybe 100-meter journey down a creek right into the Fraser.
So are there any other options there? Is there any land nearby that would be better suited to this sort of activity, do you think?
Funny that you mentioned that. A reporter mentioned to me today there's other sites within a kilometer or two that could be potentially used. You'd think the proposed waste-to-energy site would be a better spot to maybe collect and process things there instead of burning this material. That might be a better spot. I don't know, there's probably a lot, but I don't know if they've really been explored. And that's a really funny thing is why did they pick this location? And I don't have a good answer to why it would be here. Until we really know why they want to put it there, I don't think we can really say yes to it.
The Avitas, the company that's hoping to run the plant, is going to have to sign a restrictive covenant with the city, and that requires, among other things, that there are emergency flood protocols in place, that they're followed, that all recycling and processing happens in an enclosed space. What is that agreement missing as far as you are concerned?
Well, it's missing monitoring, for one thing, so we can determine, is that material leaching into the Fraser? Another thing that it's missing would be, well, the covenant, for instance, doesn't just limit the company, the city. It gives the company the right to use that land for waste in perpetuity. So it's a two-way covenant.
Right. And Avitas, though, has a pretty good environmental track record going back some years, doesn't it? A couple of decades. Does that count for anything?
Sure it does, but will they always be the owner? We don't know. Will they change what they bring there? We don't know.
The city right now is also waiting on approval from the Ministry of Environment before it gives the final go-ahead. Would a full environmental assessment, would that ease some of your concerns?
Well, you know what? In my own personal opinion, I don't know if this is shared by everybody, but I don't think they should have a full environmental assessment at all. I don't think this site is appropriate. I think they should reject it.
And as word gets out, Glen, what are you hearing from your community?
Mostly shock. Chilliwack is slowly moving to being a waste-based economy. This is not the first M6 in the area or in Chilliwack. And the newer companies that seem to be attracted here have questionable types of activities. So we're a little concerned that the rest of the property could be sold to other sites. Like who would move next to a PCB plant, for instance? We're concerned that our economy is becoming waste-based.
Right, but the processing of this hazardous waste has to happen somewhere, and I guess the good news is that things like those PCBs and heavy metals are being dealt with in a responsible way.
Well, is dealing with them right next to the banks of Fraser responsible? That's the question.
So what do you do now? What are your next steps in trying to stop this?
Well, we're going to plead with the provincial government to take a longer-term view of this. We're going to tell them things like granting companies land use rights in perpetuity is not appropriate. We're going to encourage them to talk to Stalo, the natives that live in this area, and to the local officials, and see if we can come up with, a better solution than the current one that meets the company needs and ours.
Glen, it's good to talk with you this afternoon. Thank you for the time.
Great. Thanks so much for having me on.
Appreciate it. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
And it's Glen Thompson, a spokesperson for the Friends of the Chilliwack River Valley. 21 minutes after 4 o'clock on the coast, and Lisa Christensen is back with traffic.